Assalamu alaikum everyone. Ramadan Mubarak Saeed. May Allah accept our prayers, our du'as, our fasting, and enlighten our hearts, inshallah. I will start today by reciting Surah Al-Baqarah from Ayah 1, inshallah. Again, Surah Al-Baqarah from Ayah 1. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم ومن الناس من يقول آمنا بالله وباليوم الآخر وما هم بمؤمنين يخادعون الله والذين آمنوا وما يخدعون إلا أنفسهم وما يشعرون في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا ولهم عذاب أليم بما كانوا يكذبون وإذا قيل لهم لا تفسدوا في الأرض قالوا إنما نحن مصلحون ألا إنهم هم المفسدون ولكن لا يشعرون وإذا قيل لهم آمنوا كما آمن الناس قالوا أنؤمن كما آمن السفهاء ألا إنهم هم السفهاء ولكن لا يعلمون وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا وإذا خلوا إلى شياطينهم قالوا إنا معكم إنما نحن مستهزئون الله يستهزئ بهم ويمدهم في طغيانهم يعمهون أولئك الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى فما ربحت تجارتهم وما كانوا مهتدين مثلهم كمثل الذي استوقد نارا فلما أضاءت ما حوله ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون صم بكم عمي فهم لا يرجعون أو كصيب من السماء فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق يجعلون أصابعهم في آذانهم من الصواعق حذر الموت والله محيط بالكافرين يكاد البرق يخطف أبصارهم كلما أضاء لهم مشوا فيه وإذا أظلم عليهم قاموا ولو شاء الله لذهب بسمعهم وأبصارهم إن الله على كل شيء قدير يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا والسماء بناء وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم فلا تجعلوا لله أندادا وأنتم تعلمون وإن كنتم في ريب مما نزلنا على عبدنا فأتوا بسورة من مثله ودعوا شهداءكم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين فإن لم تفعلوا ولن تفعلوا فاتقوا النار التي وقودها الناس والحجارة أعدت للكافرين وبشر الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أن لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار كلما رزقوا منها من ثمرة رزقا قالوا هذا الذي رزقنا من قبل وأتوا به متشابها ولهم فيها أزواج مطهرة وهم فيها خالدون. صدق الله مولانا العلي العظيم. Inshallah, tomorrow I will start from جزء 2 from Surah Al-Baqarah from ayah 185. Ayah 185 inshallah. Brother Tariq.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to shower us with His mercy, with His love, with His forgiveness in these blessed evenings and these blessed days in this blessed month. It's very hard to see Anas sitting in the mosque and hearing the Quran and not being able to be there, figuring out where you're going to park and where you're going to put your shoes and, all of that stuff. But, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He takes and He gives. And sometimes He takes so that we can reflect. And this is the month of reflection. And I'm very confident that before we know it, inshallah, we'll all be rejoined together in the masjid, inshallah, safely. So in the meantime, we have this medium and we're so blessed to be able to congregate like this. So as is our custom, what we're going to do is basically mimic what we do in Ramadan, minus the prayer itself. So Anas will read the Quran, and then myself and Tarif will alternate nights discussing the verses. So we begin the recitation, of course, in the first juz of the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah. And one of the things about Surah Al-Baqarah is that Allah Ta'ala, one of the themes is that things are not what they appear. And that's why the chapter is called Surah Al-Baqarah, because of the story of the Baqarah, the story of the calf, when Moses asks the people to slaughter the calf and then they argue with him, etc. And actually, Surah Al-Baqarah begins this way. So the verses that we just heard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us about somebody, he's like an archetype of a disbeliever, archetype of a hypocrite. And this person publicly claims that they're doing something good. But in their heart, between themselves and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they don't believe. So they say, for example, in verse 11, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. When you tell these people, stop destroying the earth, stop messing things up, they say, what are you talking about? We're the ones that are building things. We're the ones that are saving the world. And then Allah Ta'ala, He says, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. But really, they are the ones that are destroying. They are the ones that are corrupting, but they cannot feel it. Why can they not feel it? Because they are surrounded by this lie that they are telling themselves, this lie of disbelief. So the Quran in the first juz begins with this very jarring image of somebody who has power, somebody who has wealth, somebody who has resources, is out there doing things, claiming that they are saving, claiming that they are building, claiming that they are leading, but all they are doing is destroying. And then Allah, by this story and this pattern repeats itself throughout Surah Al-Baqarah, and inshallah we'll touch upon this. We get a couple of nights with Surah Al-Baqarah because it's the longest chapter in the Quran. What Allah Ta'ala is telling us is it's not what the outward action is, but it's about the inward action. It's, in this case, it's about belief. This person's actions are a proof against themselves because they do not believe, because their faith is not sound, because they are not pure on the inside. Therefore, their actions are destructive. Their actions are negative. Their actions are hurtful. But for the person who is lit on the inside with faith, with trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with understanding their role in the universe, with the role in the community, they are going to be humbled. They're going to be humbled by the responsibility that we all carry individually to do something positive for those around us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He begins in this way, and it's almost like He's priming us for what Ramadan is about. So Ramadan and fasting is the same way. Outwardly, it looks like something, but inwardly, it's something else. Outwardly, it looks like you're hungry. It looks like you're thirsty. It looks like you're tired. And those things are true. But inwardly, as I've said, and I say every Ramadan, this is like a feast for your soul. Our souls are feasting while our bodies are fasting. So this is a theme that's also important for us to remember. One of the legacies that we have of Imam al-Ghazali is Imam al-Ghazali talks to us about, for example, the outward actions, the prayer, the fasting, the Hajj, it said all of the acts of worship. And he talks about the inward, the mirror of that on the inward. And that's what his magnum opus, Ihya Ulumuddin, is about. He talks about how you benefit from both types of the outward and the inner. So our fast, therefore, is the same way. If we are wired correctly and we understand why we're fasting and we understand why we are committed to this, and why, look, even during this pandemic, why we are committed to meeting on this forum online. Why are we doing this? Because we know that there is great reward. We know that we need the remembrance. We know that we need the reminder. We know that we need the community. Therefore, inshallah, our outward action will facilitate that, and we will flourish with our fasting. This is also a lesson. Allah subhanahu, the Quran is not linear, so we don't read it in the beginning and then, it's not a chronology. But we do begin, when we read it, we do read it one juz at a time. And very early on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also challenges us with something, very, very jarring verse. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, if you think that this Quran is made up, if you think that this is a joke, فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِثْلِهَا, bring something like it. Make up a verse or two or three. Go ahead, I dare you. Allah Ta'ala is saying, I dare you to do that. وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا. So Allah says, لَمْ وَلَن. He says, you will not be able to. لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا. And you will in the future. Len is for the future. You never will be able to make up something like this. I mean, that's so shocking, right? It's shocking that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say that, and then this verse is repeated forever. This is the confidence that we have in our faith, the confidence that we have in our book, and this is why we call this the month of the Quran. I mean, that verse for me always is one of those shocking things. Allah is saying, I dare you. You think this is a joke? You think we're making this up? Go ahead. Try to write something like this. Try to formulate something like this that will be preserved throughout time, that people will recite, that people will memorize, that people will use for worship, that people will use for cleansing, that people will use for healing. Make something. I dare you. Try. And then Allah Ta'ala says, but you're not going to be able to now, and you're not going to be able to in the future. And then the Quran stands as a testament, as a miracle from the time of its revelation until the end of time, inshallah, of this, the veracity of the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is one of the themes of Ramadan. This is the month in which the Quran was first revealed to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And this is the month in which it was completed, and this is the month in which it was reviewed, when Gabriel reviewed the Quran with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam twice in the final year of his life. And this is the month of course, Laylatul Qadr. And Allah says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. This is the month in which the Quran was revealed as a guidance, right? So we come back to this idea that this book is a guide for us. So this theme that I begin by commenting on, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying things are not what they appear to be, this is the lesson. This is one of the major lessons of this chapter, not just this juz, but the chapter of Al-Baqarah. Do not be fooled by people that make claims, but look to their actions. We have this expression in English, the proof is in the pudding. And one of the origins, if I remember correctly, of this expression is that desserts are, I'm hopeless in the kitchen, so I'm going off of just book knowledge. They say that desserts are the hardest of meals to cook and to prepare. And the expression, the proof is in the pudding, came from the idea that the way you can tell if a cook is really a good cook is if the pudding, i.e. the dessert, is done well. In other words, it's that action. If the dessert is put together well, then that's proof that this person, this chef, this cook knows what they're doing. Again, it's about the action. So Allah Ta'ala is saying, don't worry about claims. Don't worry about people that say they have taqwa. Don't worry about people that claim they have knowledge. Don't worry about people that say they have power. Look at what they're doing. The proof is in the pudding. Look at their actions. And those actions will tell you where they are rooted, what is on the inside. And that's why, for example, in Arabic, we say, al-lisan turjiman al-qalb. The tongue is the translator of what's in the heart. So whatever's on the inside, it will come out through your speech, through your actions in one way or another. So just like we are not just to take things at face value, when it comes to our fasting, one of the ways that we can mark our progress of fasting is to see how our behavior has changed throughout the month and then beyond Ramadan. So the bad habits that we have they lessened? The anger, the frustration that we have, has that lessened? If so, then we know that our fasting is coming from a good place. Inshallah, it's flourishing, and therefore it's translating around us. So these are just some of the thoughts that I had about these initial verses, inshallah. And the discussion will continue every night. One last thing, though, I want to say, sort of a separate topic, is that we had a passing just a few hours ago. Sister Razia Begum, who is the mother of Brother Rashid Khan and the mother-in-law of Sister Shaista, who these are two key members of our community that are known to us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant her mercy, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to expand in her grave, to make her passing easy. I also ask Allah ta'ala to give comfort to the family, to Brother Rashid and Shaista. May this passing, may your sorrow be lessened, inshallah. And at least you can take glad tiding in the fact that this passing happened on the eve of Friday and also on the eve of the first of Ramadan. And this is something that the Prophet ﷺ, it was his habit to see good signs in things around him. This is not like an art. I'm not saying, it's exactly like this, but when we see these things, we are comforted. These things, Allah Ta'ala puts them in our path for us to be comforted by these things. So may this be a comfort for you, and may this passing be easy. For all of those who are sick, may Allah Ta'ala heal them. For all of those who have passed recently in our community and the wider community, we ask Allah Ta'ala to shower them with His mercy and His forgiveness. And we take a reminder in the death of those loved ones around us of the importance of the life that we've been given, to make the most out of the life that we have. That there is no time like the present. There is no hour like the hour that we are in. Alhamdulillah, we have the greatest opportunity ahead of us in this month to make the most out of our life, to make a fundamental shift. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us and to allow us to revive us through this month. We ask Allah ta'ala to protect our masjid and all of those who work so hard behind the scenes to preserve it. We ask Allah ta'ala to allow us to come back to the mosque as soon as possible. And may we flourish in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listening to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.